Hello, welcome to the Daily Live. We are back. It was obviously bank holiday yesterday. That's why we weren't here. But we are back today and back with the news that Alex Iwobi is the subject of interest from three clubs, or at least three clubs, two Premier League clubs and a European side, who are very interested in taking him from Everton. He has 10 months left on his current deal at Everton. There's no indication that he's going to sign a new deal with the club. So what are your thoughts on that? What do you think? Do you think it'll happen?
I think that it was inevitable this was going to happen. I think it was inevitable that with a few days left that Everton would maybe start circulating his name.
Do you think that's what's happened? Everton have circulated it, or do you think it's his agent?
One and the same.
Yeah, maybe.
To be honest, I think with a year left, I just don't think Everton can afford to keep older players if they haven't signed the contract. I really don't. Everton just can't be letting people go for free. Have they got adequate backup? Well, Harrison, McNeil, Dobbin, Danjuma. Is that enough?
But they want another one, don't they?
Yeah.
I think Everton will go back for Nonso on Thursday, yeah. I think it's between Nonso, Bakayoko and Sulemana. Sulemana might be a doable one because you can get him on loan with an obligation for Southampton. I think Nonso's tricky, but if Everton offered what Leeds were interested in, the player still wants to leave Leeds in this window. I know he played at the weekend and scored. And also Bakayoko, who I actually would be more excited than out the three of them to get him. And there's also Lewis Sinisterra at Leeds. He's got a release clause, a relegation release clause, and wants to leave as well. So he scored at the weekend as well. So there is options there. Whether Everton move on them, obviously we're expecting Damari Gray to leave in the next 48 hours as well. Al-Shabaab, where he was going, there was a little bit uncertainty over that deal, but apparently reports today say they're still gonna try and get this deal through. There's another Saudi club interested in him as well. So I don't see a position where Everton allow Damari Gray to go this week and don't replace him.
Yeah.
So I'd be amazed if Everton let Damari Gray and Alex Iwobi go and don't at least replace one of them.
Yeah.
I think Everton should really, if the two go out, they should replace them with two. But more of a sense, like if it was Iwobi, I'd want more of a central, like playmaking type, rather than another winger. A winger for Gray, absolutely, and a central, someone who can get on the ball, middle of the park, and maybe create through that way as well. But so we'll see. But
I think the main thing, isn't it, is that he's in the last year of his contract. There's no real talk of him getting a new contract. There was last year, of course, or early on this year, last season, that he would be. I just don't think we can allow players to walk out for free. I just think that can't happen anymore. And I can understand people say, he's one of our most creative players, but you just can't. You can't have that. You've got to set that precedent. That players, Everton have got to look at players with 2 years to go and say, right, we need to start talking about this because we're not letting you go into your last year. It does create a lot of chances for us, and I think on Saturday he could have been really important for us in a game like that. But it is what it is, and as I said, if we can get money in for him and we can replace him and put someone on a long contract, you got to look at it like that. You got to look at it from the FFP situation as well. Just letting someone walk out the door. If we could get, I don't know, 10, 12 million for him at this stage, and then go and invest that in a new player where we can get favourable terms for them, then you've got, without putting pressure on him, you've got like Delhi in the squad as well. If he comes back, could he fulfil that role? I don't really see Iwobi playing wide with the options we've got once they're all fit. So Yeah, I can see this happening, but as you just said, you need players in, don't you? You need replacements.
Yeah, I don't think he's someone Everton would actively be trying to sell. And if he had years on his contract, and we certainly wouldn't be having this conversation because he is a creative player for Everton. There's no, whether you like him or you don't like him, he does create opportunities for Everton. That's just a fact. Yeah, could he score more goals? Well, he should do, given the chances he has. But he does create a lot of Everton's, opportunities. But we can't sit here on one hand and Evertonians in general complain about the club having no money and they run badly, and then we've actively got a player who's not going to sign a deal running down a contract when people had to go at Ross Barkley. Still don't like Ross Barkley and yet Ross Barkley got us a fee. So Alex Iwobi in a position where in 10 months time he walks out the door free. So if Everton could get 15 million for him now, you'd take it. Of course you would, if he's not going to stay. Now, he is a creative player, and I do know that. So some people, and I have had this discussion, would say, well, if he stays and Everton are comfortable mid-table, then he's done his job and he's saved you, whatever. But you've got to look at people who are committed. And if he's 33 and he's running his contract down, you think, well, we're not going to get any money for him anyway. He's more valuable to us staying in the squad. But if Everton can get 15 million for him now, and he's a big earner, a relatively big earner off the wage bill, and go and bring in someone who is... There is a tricky one, because like I said, he does create chances. Yeah. He really does. And maybe with a better centre forward and wider players, we might score more goals from it. But I think if someone like Fulham do come in and go 15 million for him, Everton might just be looking at it going, he's 28. He's we're going to get money for him before he walks out the door for free. Right, we can reinvest that in Bakayoko's 20 or Suleiman or Nonso. They're all young. We're going to do that instead. Maybe. Because he's not a wide player. He's better.
No, but and ultimately Everton have got to, player trading's obviously huge, and Everton have got to refresh it, haven't they? And that's the way you look at it. Obviously, Gray going out is one. Iwobi could be another, and just trying to refresh that. And when your players are coming towards the end of their contracts, you've got to get something for them. And if we can get a younger version who adds similar numbers and can actually score goals as well, then that's the way you got to look at it. I mean, what does he really offer in terms of, like, I know he creates more chances than anyone else, but that's not exactly saying too much. So, and he doesn't really... doesn't really fit in out there on the right-hand side either.
No, he should
be playing central, but he's not playing centrally. So therefore, you've got a decision to make, and that could be made in the next couple of days.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have a little look. There's a poll at the moment. There, you can have your say on it. 83% of people have said, 82% of people have said yes, sell him at the moment. Obviously, that'll continue throughout this live stream. We'll look at that at the end and see where we're up to. A couple of people mentioning Danny Ings. This was a story from Football Insider or something, or HIT. It was nonsense. The story was nonsense. Everton are going to buy him off West Ham. Why would Everton go for Danny Ings? They've already got Beto, they've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin, they've got Chimiti. Everton don't carry four strikers.
I don't see how it would work for him though. No. I don't think he would be a starting centre forward for us.
There's zero chance he'd be a starting centre forward.
So I don't see how it would work for him. That's the main way I'd look at it. Never mind the other side of it. I just don't see how he'd start games.
No. And Everton, even if there'd be no point buying him. West Ham aren't loaning him. There'd be no point buying him and giving him a big wage either. For what reason? To be a sub? No chance. No chance. But it was nonsense anyway. So let's see what happens. Talk on Iwobi. Gary says hello. Tom says, Baz, you're absolutely spot on. He said there's no patterns of play. We aren't creating quality chances. Our chances are people snatching at things from set pieces and the ball's just bobbling to people. What do they work on in training? Tom wants Deitch out and he wants Potter or Hasenhüttl in as soon as possible.
You'd love Hasenhüttl, wouldn't you?
Be all right. Georgie said, I've just seen Sky News compare Iwobi to Eden Hazard. They said the stats don't add up to what he's actually like on the field. He's far better in person. How does that work? Like, I everyone knows, like, I've always said Iwobi's sound, but how does that work? His stats don't add up. He's better in person. What does it mean?
Isn't it the other way round?
Because a lot of Evertonians would say he doesn't look great in games, but when you look at the stats, you go, oh, he's created a lot. So I've never heard it used that way round. Dexy says, if it's to bring money in to pay for a new player, then okay. But I think it's about his wage demands on a new contract extension. He's not a 100 grand a week player.
Well, I don't think they're even talking anymore, are they, contract-wise?
Would you be happy to offer him 100 grand
Not a chance on this or any other world. Yeah. Not a chance on it. Everton have got to can't. If Everton have made that stance, then I'm delighted. It's like almost like common sense is being used.
We've got to drag this.
Coming into his 28th year. And
when is he 28? Oh, look, if only there was a way. Go on.
If only there was a way.
Go on, carry on.
And you're offering him 100. He doesn't do enough. Statos out there can cry into their...
Oh, to be fair, he was only 27 in May.
Well, he's 28 next May. End of the season. He's in his 28th year. That's what I said.
Yeah, you did.
28.
No, you did.
Didn't say he was 28, so he was in 28th year.
You did. To be fair, you said that.
The statos out there, and we know who you are, will be... they'll be crying into their... whatever variety of tea they're drinking, because that's the thing with statos. They can't just have a cup of tea. They have to drink, like, funny tea.
Is he on Earl Grey tea?
Probably with lemon in it.
A twist of lemon. Lemon's very good for you, by the way.
Also in one of those glasses. Not a mug, like a glass.
Glass.
That is. The stats can be great for him, but I would still bet that most people who go the game can't see the effect he has on that game enough. There are moments, and I said it myself over the weekend, Saturday is a game where actually you want an Alex Iwobi in the middle of the park pulling the strings, because there was that much space in there that he could have pulled the strings quite nicely. But he doesn't do enough. He doesn't score enough goals. He doesn't create enough or score enough to be on £100,000 a week. And when people go, well, it's like a standard fee. Well, let's make it not a standard fee. Let's make people earn the money. Let's make people earn those wages. Everton's turnover, the wages in that is ridiculous. Everton can't be thrown around this money unless it is for players who do the business that get you up the table, that get you earn your money through, getting Everton higher in the table. So we'll see what happens.
We'll see, yeah. I mean, this is not a new thing with Iwobi. We were reporting this back in June. That, we'd heard 2 or 3 teams wanted them back in June when everything had stopped. So no one should be surprised with this news today. It's old hat. It's been bouncing around, like I said, since June. We were talking about this on the lives in June, what we were doing, and it's gone on and on and on. So, but it was always going to be left as late to the transfer window as possible. So let's be honest. Yeah, we'll see. We will see. But yeah, someone like Bakayoko would be good. There's no pull for Vincent Kompany at Burnley. It's whoever pays the money is the thing. If Everton pay the money, pay his wages, he'll go there. If Burnley paid the money, pay his wages, he'll go there. If Palace went in for Bakayoko, he'd go there. That's all that matters.
The irony of Iwobi is...
There's zero pull for Burnley.
The irony of Iwobi is as well, he is a very good player. Like, there's a talent in there.
Absolutely.
And in a team that has a certain style, you're going to get something out of him. Or he can be a cog in a machine where he doesn't have to, not expected to score as many goals.
He'd be good in something like City, wouldn't he? Where there's a lot of... What I mean is there's a lot
I understand
of
what you mean. I understand what you
Arsenal,
mean.
he'd be good for.
Well, he wasn't good for them.
No, but if he was central, I mean.
It's almost like it is that It's like taking one step back to take. He doesn't. You need more players. In a club like Everton, what you do, you have got to make a decision, don't you? Do you buy more players like him, or do you have to sort of go along with what you've got? Of course, better players make better teams, but they have to be of a certain style, and his style just doesn't seem to fit in. And I don't know, maybe if you went to Fulham, it would fit in. We've always said Fulham, haven't we? Maybe it'd fit in there. Maybe there's a more of a relaxed feel about the way they play, and he's always been, you know, a round pegging for a square hole, hasn't he? And that's not his fault necessarily.
No, I think Frank Lampard put him where he's good. In the end, in the middle, and he proved he was good there.
But that was by,
of course it was, yeah.
So,
I think the goals have held him back for every manager. He's never been clinical enough. And in a team that, if you've got lots of other options in your team who score goals, then Alex Iwobi's fine. There's no problem because others are putting the ball in the net and he's creating the chances. I think we need players who can put the ball in the net, and that's not a slight on Iwobi. And like I said, if Alex Iwobi had 3 years left on his contract, then this wouldn't even be discussing. It'd be no, leave him where he is. He's doing well or whatever. But Everton, when you're looking at where we are, and he's got less than a year left, we need someone who mightn't be as good as Alex Iwobi, but he puts the ball in the net regularly. Do you know, there's players there. You look in the Premier League, and Iwobi's probably got more talent than quite a few of them, but they end up with putting balls in the back of the net and getting points for teams. And I don't know. We'll see, won't we? Like I said again, just to reiterate for the final time, if he was under contract, as in he had 2 or 3 years left, this wouldn't really be a topic of discussion, would it? But when Everton are where they are financially, and when we've got to a position where so many players have walked out the door for nothing, this is why we're where we are. Yeah. So we do have to recycle any money we get back into this. It's the way Brighton and Brentford do it. We're always lauding them. It's the way Liverpool have done it in the past. It's the way others do it. Put the money back into the team. Aston Villa, put the money back into the team. If Everton can get 15 million quid off Alex Iwobi because he isn't going to sign a new contract, if he's like, I'm going to sign, lads, what you're offered me, fine. No problem with it. But
then. Here's a question for you then. If Fulham turn up and say, is 12 million quid for him, and then, but also there's a contract on the table for him to sign a new 3-year deal, and he says, well, which one would you take?
Well, I'm not in a rush to get him out the door.
Oh no,
I'll have him signing a contract.
See,
but he's not going to sell him. But he's not going to sign it.
Even if there was a contract on the table, I'd still sell him. Just think for where he is in his career.
No, and as long as, like I say, and it will, as long as that money was recycled back in, because it needs to be. If you're saying to me, right, Alex Iwobi signed a new contract, 3 years on what he's on now, so there's no real damage to Everton's wage bill in terms of it going up. Or Everton can get Bakayoko from PSV for obviously more money as well. Then obviously I'd rather have Bakayoko because he's 20, 21, room to grow, and we can develop him and make money on him. That's a different call, isn't it? Because you're talking about replacing him with a younger model who's got different skill set and all of that. That's where we are. Georgie said no Ped likes to look at touches on midfielders and his match reaction, but our play doesn't suit midfielders.
No, it doesn't. I 100%. You're 100% correct.
Onana gets a lot of grief when personally I think he does good. It's hard for him to do anything. Now, you see, the first bit I agreed with, but then what you're doing is you're making you're giving people an excuse. You're giving the manager an excuse almost, because what you're saying is and you might want to give the manager an excuse. I don't know. The thing about it is, these players, the minute you say they're not capable of doing that, or it's not their fault, you're making excuses for them. These are elite footballers, whether you think they're good or not. They're elite footballers. They're playing in the Premier League. They're playing at the top. People tell me it's the best league in the world. Therefore, these players must be very, very good. And if you're telling me these footballers can't run forward with a football and create an opening for someone, I'm not having it.
No, I take the point of what he's saying about Onana, because it is something I've thought about myself. You know, about the touches of the style doesn't necessarily suit. We do play round the midfield and rather than go through the midfield. But maybe then it's down to Onana to impose himself in training and offer the manager that solution. I've seen clips of him from the weekend, nicely packaged together, and he does look good. But then at the same time, it's like, well, why isn't he on the ball all the time? Why isn't he the man?
He went missing again.
Look at Decore's touches and look at Adissa Gana-Gay's. Gana-Gay's is a little bit misleading because he is getting the ball off the centre backs quite a lot. But you want Onana to demand it. You want him to be the presence in midfield that is demanding the ball. And you want him to say to the manager, I can set the tempo for this team. I can set how we're going to play. That is something that you've got to look at as well. It's not like, and I've done this myself, so I'm not having a go at but there is times where you can make excuses for players that you like or you want, or you're terrified that we're going to sell them. We all do this with players. You make excuses for the ones you like and you have a go at the ones you don't like. I like Onana, but as I say more than anyone else in our team is that I don't criticise him for playing badly. I criticise him for not being in the game enough. And that's something that can only be on him, really, to affect the game. And you're absolutely right, tactics will take a part in it. If the ball's going over his head all the time or going down the side, I get that. But it's up to him to get round the pitch a little bit more and demand the ball. And he's clearly not doing that enough. And that means he's not on the pace of the game enough, or he's not staying in the game, not fit enough in the game. For me, and this might be a thing that we spoke about this yesterday. We were sitting around, we were just talking about it. This is something that he will grow more and more into. I imagine, and you can picture that player playing for a really top side who does use the midfield, who does have loads of options. And again, that's not his fault. But I'd rather see. I think Onana. So you can, almost like you can go. He had a bad game today, but you see that he had 60, 70 touches. I'd rather see that than having 40 odd touches and go, well, what? Oh, he did that nice thing there. And he did that nice thing there. And he played that one ball through. I want to see him almost have so many touches that he's in danger of having a bad game because he does too much almost. I know that sounds a little bit silly, but because then you think, yeah, but he's starting to get into games. He's starting to dominate games. And I just don't think he's quite dominating games yet. I do think it'll come because his stature of how he is and this, how he strides around the pitch. Get hold of the ball and start moving the ball as well. There's a lot of facets that we've seen from him and he just doesn't do consistently as a player. So
he only had 37 passes the weekend.
That's not great.
He won 80% of his tackles, which is excellent. One interception, which is very good. Won 66% of his aerial duels, which is very good. I thought he was good in the first half, and like Fulham, he went missing in the second half. And he's got to be able to grab the game. He's got to be able. He's physically got the stats yet. He can get up and down the pitch. He's got to get on the ball. It's just the way it is. And that's what it's about. Again, the Blues still giving people passes. Oh, you can't. What did he say? Sorry, mate, you can't pretend players can do whatever they want. I don't even understand what that means. That's anyone who's been involved in football and played football. I don't know what that is. That's nonsense. That sentence. So we'll see how we get on. But I just think for me, he has got. I picked him out as the player I think will be Everton's best player this season because I really expect them to be able to dominate games. But the worrying thing is for two home games now, he was missing at Villa, totally missing. But for 2 home games, he started well and being the dominant force. And then the half-time whistle's gone, and it's like he hasn't come out for the second half. 2 home games on the run. He was up against nothing on Saturday, really, and he went missing. And he can't do that. He's got to be the one that comes and gets the ball.
Yeah.
We know Decore's loose with the ball in possession. We know that. Decore's just a runner. He'll get around the pitch and he'll try and get on the end of things. Onana's got to be the one that plays the ball. Get on the ball, demand it, pass it, get it back, short, long. He's got all of that in his locker. It's up to him to drag it out, isn't it? To pull that out. A West Ham fan saying, "Hi lads, great channel. Just about Danny Ings. Would you take him? Better option than Mopine played on?" No, mate, I wouldn't. If it's just my personal opinion, I just don't think he wouldn't get in our team. That's just the way he just wouldn't. They've got Beto coming in from Udinese. He'll be in the team. Dominic Calvert-Lewin will be in. So Danny Ings would be like a sub for. So why would he leave West Ham as a sub to come to Everton as a sub? And his age and probably the money he wants, we just couldn't carry like 4 strikers. Mopai they're trying to get rid of. We've got a young lad called Yusuf Chimiti as well who come on at the weekend. They'll try and integrate him. I just don't see us with 4 strikers. I think Ings a couple of years ago, absolutely, we'd have had him. I just think now, I just don't think he'd get in. You know, for a fraction of his wages to just be in the squad, then yeah, he can finish, he can score goals, but I just don't think he'd get in an Everton side right now under Sean Dyche in the way he wants to play, personally. And we can't carry 4 strikers. We only play 1. We can't, can we? Talking about wage bills, we can't carry 4 strikers. It's as simple as that. We've already got, you know, we had 3 strikers on the bench at the weekend, which is very much unlike Everton. But we know 2 of them will go, in Cannon and Mopai. So, Steve Peace says David says, if Iwobi isn't willing to sign a new contract in the next 48 hours, we must sell him. We need that money and the grey money to buy replacements, and it sends out a message that we're not going to keep being that club that lets players' contracts run down. That must change. Kevin Johansson says, can't wait to move to the Good Time Stadium at BMD. Maybe the curse goes away then. Steve P says the left-back position is clearly still an issue and we haven't actually addressed. How is it we've only got 1 actual left-back in the squad and he's had his place taken by a 38-year-old who isn't even left-footed? Surely we can find a decent one on loan, like Ryan Sessegnon from Spurs. Hasn't he just... Oh no, his brother's just gone to Wigan, hasn't he? Because from what I've seen of Ashley Young so far, there's no way we can go on a full season like this. It's understandable if he was brought in to be a utility player and give experience, but to be our first choice left back is criminal to me. I'm sorry, but you can't be having a 38-year-old right-footed player at left back in 2023. Kieran Tierney on loan, would you have gone for that?
He's gone.
No, I know he's gone.
Yeah,
I'm associate that.
I think he was a very good player. His injury record is the problem, but I'd maybe had a little look at that.
Everton Viking says, seems like it might be a busy week for us. I don't mind selling Iwobi, especially if he won't sign a new contract, but I do have concerns that we don't currently have enough genuine creators in the squad as it is. So if he does go, we need to get someone in who creates chances. I actually think we need someone who can play where Decore is currently playing, who can create and score.
Absolutely.
But the right hand side is still a must for me. 3 more after Beto. We won't get a centre back, I don't think. A right winger we might get in. A creative player, I don't know. If we get rid of Iwobi and Gray, maybe we get a creative player as well. Alex says, sell Iwobi and Gray. That's at least 25 million for both. Then reinvest wisely in the players Dyche and Thelwell want. At least back them before judging them. Back who? Thelwell's been here for a while. Dyche is... Yeah. You can judge him on what we've seen so far, which isn't good enough. Get him the players. Get the players we've got injured back. We'll be in a better position. But got to find that creativity. I don't know this late on where you find centrally creative players, but there'll be clubs will have players who are better than what we've got, won't they? A lot of the top clubs will have them. Everton, there's still 6 international loans Everton can get. You've obviously got to find wages for them, so it's not unlikely you're ever going to take that many. But you know who? Real Madrid, they got anyone? Don't see if they'll lend us Chouameni or someone. He's not creative, by the way. Well, there must be players at clubs who aren't getting in who have got that creativity, and you think we could do with that in our squad, especially if Alex Iwobi does move on. Can't leave it until Friday, don't start going. Who could we get? Although some might argue you would probably get players on Friday. Because
yeah, but
it's
you're
the
not
last
going to
gap.
get. You're not going to get like, I don't know.
First choice.
They're not going to be top billing.
No. I don't think we can get top billing anyway, can we? To be honest. James says, if you're selling Iwobi, do you need to replace him? Also, how many more can you see leaving? Can see more paying Gray definitely leaving. You do need to replace Iwobi, but like we've said, you'd need to replace Iwobi centrally, in my opinion. Everton want a right winger, someone who plays off the right. I know Nonso doesn't really play off the right, but that's what they want. We'll see. We'll see what he does. Whether they go back in for him, he apparently, according to journalists in Leeds, he still wants out. The Sinistera, like we've said, the Sulemana, but all three of them have had a tendency to play off the left. Bakayoko does play off the right, but Burnley have had 2 bids for him. Can Everton, if they do sell Iwobi, go above that and try and get that deal done with Brands? He owes us a couple of good ones, doesn't he? We'll see. Derek says, I'd like to see Iwobi where Decore is playing currently, but he does only have a year left. Well, yeah, he's got less than a year now, hasn't he? Everton Viking says, I would also say we need to be careful about lack of pace. Other than Danjuma, no wide players actually have pace other than Dobbin. Harrison isn't quick. He's not slow, but he's not quick. Depends how you're playing, doesn't it? Sulemana's very quick. Chris Burns says, I think considering we're struggling for creativity in the middle of the park, losing Alex Iwobi is a gamble we can't afford to take. I appreciate we'd risk losing him on a free, but considering his assist record for us last season and his work rate, we would need to have a natural replacement for him. He plays in the centre, which unless Delhi comes back into form, we don't have. At the moment, I know Iwobi's playing on the wing, but it's not his position. With more wide players, we may see Dyche playing the likes of Harrison and Danjuma out on the wings and having Alex as a 10 or more attacking midfielder. Jez says, apparently if you don't press the like button, Beto is going to Spurs. So that's Jez's words, not mine. That's up to you. If you want to see Beto potentially walk out of Finch Farm a la Danjuma, you better press the like button. Yeah. That's according to Jez. Alex says if he doesn't sign a new contract, 20 million and he can go, then we can put some actual money down, as it seems it's an issue with trying to do deals where we don't pay money in year one. If we want Nonso, offer 10 million up front. Everton Viking says we're on the same wavelength here, Baz. Yeah, I mean, Everton, I'm quite sure Everton have got, well, we're hoping Everton have got a few underneath where they could go. Well, if he does go, we could move to that. Say Dele. I reckon that's what we do now. We can either call him Barnadeli, which is his real name, or we could call him Dele and see if that changes. That might make him like Pele, like the Blues has just said. I reckon we call him that. Dele. If you come bring him back, put a little accent over one of these and say we've got Dele and he's back. And this time he's serious. Could work. It could work. Who knows?
Interesting.
Who knows? Why not? We tried other things. Why not? Let's sex it up a little bit. Dele. Be amazing. Paul, oh, that's gone there. Andy Smith says, Baz, would you take Adam Wharton? Yeah, but again, he would be a slow burner, wouldn't he? Adam Wharton at Blackburn. He's a young lad. I mean, his socks mid-calf send Tom Davies vibes, and I think a lot of people wouldn't be happy with that. But he looks like a good little player. Everton have been watching him for some time. I think they tried to get him in January, didn't he, Wharton? He would be one to go into the squad, a bit like Chimiti. So if you're talking, great, get him by all means and get him involved. But if we're talking about someone to come in, if Iwobi was to leave, you want someone who's ready-made right now as well, don't you? So, but he does look a good little player. Professor Poopy Fan says, when should Everton recruit Graham Potter?
5 to 12.
Does Everton Does Everton
Is that just that does Everton? Is that it then? Just
no, but does Everton suit Graham Potter right
no,
now?
of course it doesn't.
Are we set up for Graham Potter? Would our fans allow him the time to build in terms of build the way he wants to play? Would our fans love it with him, our goalie, knocking it across a 6-yard box to one of our centre backs and then trying to build from there?
This thing about our fans have been through quite a lot.
So would they accept it?
Yeah, because our fans have watched a lot of dross in the last few years. They have though. They've watched a lot.
Of course, we have. It's been terrible.
I don't think there's a thing called patience anymore because there's just like an inevitability that about everything. So I think the idea that we get that the patience runs out. I don't know if it's actually real because I think it's more to do with a lot of other things like communication, telling fans how you want to play, what you want to do,
humanising the manager as well.
Humanising themselves. Said this loads of times. Sean Dyche is in a long line of managers who can't really talk to people or doesn't talk to people. And I imagine he's so engrossed in his job that he doesn't get time to, I know he said things recently, like, spoke to people while he's been out and about, whether it be on, Lark Lane or whether it's been at Glastonbury. But I do think there is room for the manager to do a few things with the fan base. Whether it's a large scale thing, like it's, within a Q&A within a room or whatever. But Everton as a football club are terrified of doing those things. They're terrified of letting people talk. They're terrified, whether it's the manager, Kevin Felwell, or other people, they're terrified of letting them actually just speak, because you get a small glimpse of them, of what their personalities are and what they want to achieve.
Yeah.
And I think Everton have got to start doing that. Been saying this for ages, and it's humanising them, isn't it? It's humanising them, and then you feel something for them then. And you've seen that what happened with Frank Lampard. Frank Lampard got a lot of sway because he is naturally someone who's a good talker who comes across in a certain way. And this manager hasn't really been able to create that yet. And I think it's almost like saying, if he's trying to be, it's like learning about his personality, so you understand where he's coming from when he does crack a joke that you don't find funny or whatever. But we're just really bad at humanising people.
You see, the premise behind Sean Dyche,
the premise
of like being able to have a little bit of joke and being able to be a little bit deadpan with his one-liners, I don't mind. It's just sometimes the sensitivity of it is like, for him, he's been able to do that. I mean, you've heard, if you've ever seen the interview with either Steve Stone, it's Steve Stone more, but they had an interview with Steve Stone and he was like, yeah, this football club's massive and the pressure, you don't realise the intensity of it. Right? So they've come from Burnley, where Dyche could basically
go down the shop.
But he could also just have the journalist loops tied up in knots, right? Because it's Burnley, he runs it, he'll say what goes, whatever. Our fan base ain't like Burnley. We are, and we're pissed off, which makes it even worse because of what's gone on. It's not his making, but that's where we are. And when you try to, his personality probably is to be a little bit like, I'll crack a joke and I'll like play, give you a bit of whatever. We're probably just not ready for that right now, but that doesn't mean he should have to change, but maybe just needs to understand it a little bit more, and the club needs to get his personality across to us.
Yes, the Stone, thanks for the super chat, even though you haven't said none. No, I mean, you're absolutely right. It's about learning. See, someone just mentioned it there about him being almost like condescending. I think when he came in, I said this on day one, and some people thought I was being funny. People probably sometimes think I look at everything and find something wrong with everything. But when he came in, I couldn't help but feel that when his first statement about the fans was completely wrong. Like, it was completely wrong. Someone had whispered in his ear about the fans, and he was like, he'd obviously took it on face value, because why wouldn't you? And it was completely wrong.
It was wrong.
It was just wrong. It was this idea that we were upset for this completely different reason to why we were upset. And then he'd go and say, oh, I need to learn about the fans. And every time, but it was like, he comes out and says every time he does a press conference or an interview, fans are amazing, the fans are this, fans are that. And I listen to the narrative all the time. I remember me and Ned were coming back from Wolves, and we were listening to the the interview on the way home. And the interview must have said to him 3 times, but what about the fans? And it was like, what's that got to do with anything? He's already said the fans were. So it's this narrative of the club keep pushing, like, the fans were amazing, weren't they? The fans were amazing. And it's like, why does this narrative need to be made to the manager about how good the fans are, or the fans understand, or the fans are this, the fans are that? The fans know the situation. I'm not quite sure the manager fully understands the situation of what he's being told. And as I said, it would be, I think, a really good idea if the manager was to sit down. I think this should have happened a while ago, to be honest. The fans sit down in a room with fans, and he gets a true reflection of what they think is going on at Everton Football Club. And it doesn't have to be cameras, doesn't have to be anything there. It can just be like one-on-one experiences with him and the fans saying, listen, this is why we feel the way we feel. And no bullshit either, by the way. No, like, oh, I'm turning up to, like, because you people did all these amazing things. Like, don't make a thing of it. Just be like a relaxed situation. Like Alan used to do with the tea parties, where it's like, right, let me find out a little bit about you. Why do you think this club's gone wrong? Surely the manager wants to know why we think the club's gone wrong. Surely that would be really helpful. And then he can address that and go, listen, that thing that you're worried about, that's not happening anymore. Or we've that's certainly not the experience I've got from being at this club. Because things do get said that might be wrong at times, but no one ever puts it right. You know, whether Kevin Felwell, who's talking he was going to do an interview, whether he did it, whether he didn't do it, people got told he was doing it. It's certainly never gone out. We've got a few notes on a program. That interview's never gone out. So it's connecting the most important thing about Everton, which is the fan base, with the most important people, with the manager and the director of football. So I think that would just be, it would instead of just like, oh, the fans are like, sit down and listen to the fans' concerns.
Yeah, don't let someone at the football club tell you what the fans think.
No,
because they look at it from their own perspective, which is not how the fans look at it.
No, and the people at the football club,
some people.
No, but the people at the football club fear the fans. They fear that relationship. They fear what can spiral and yeah, that's true. But you can harness the fans, but in an honest way, not like in a way where it's like, you know, you take all the bits and pieces of it and you put it in a PR room and you say, right, we're going to use this for the season ticket campaign. You can harness the fans if you do it the right way. Yeah, it's done right in the wrong way too many times.
AL Graham Potter didn't get Brighton promoted. Just want to put that out there. He took over when they were in the Premier League in 2019, I think. Chris Hughton got them promoted. Potter took over the Premier League team, just for clarity. Yes, the Stone, who done the super chat, says, love the show, fellas. If you were both made young CEOs of the club, what would be the first or the top 3 things on your list to immediately change?
Communication. Certainly straight away. I would put an in-house channel very similar to this at Everton. People say it can't be done. I think it can be done. For daily communication with fans, with different people, players, managers, coaches, tea ladies from the club. I would beat fans over the head with communication. I would literally, so that no one could ever say anything about it.
Yeah.
Literally, I would. So that would be there'd be content coming out out my ears. I'd have them making documentaries and literally all the time about Everton and its history and all kinds. That would be number one. Number two, I don't know. It's hard to know exactly what. It's hard to know exactly what needs doing, isn't it? There's that many things. I'd have a bigger board, much bigger board. Yeah, eight members on the board. Lots of good ideas, fresh ideas from different places, and yeah. And if I was the owner and the CEO, I'd get an amazing CEO.
Yeah, absolutely. Fulham are an upgrade on Everton, and Fulham won't get into Europe. I think I don't know what that is. Certainly not the Fulham team I saw on. The Fulham team I saw on day one will struggle to stay up this season. I imagine they will be better than that, but that day they were one of the worst teams I've seen at Goodison for ages, and they beat us, so that tells you about us. But it is difficult, isn't it? It's difficult with without knowing what's in there, but you've got to have that clear lines of communication to the fan base first and foremost. That's the biggest thing you can do. And then you've got to start replacing people at the football club. Sad as that may sound, you got to get good people in, people who want the football club to do well, create that business savviness with the football club, get rid of all the people who stop things happening, people who are maybe around the manager and stuff, change them people, get people in who can see the value of it all, because without the fans, the football club isn't a thing. You cannot go on, and you can't go on and pretend the fans are an issue just because the fan base aren't happy. They're not happy because it's been a long time since we won a trophy. You can't be happy when we turn up week in, week out and we're served up dross, which we have been for a number of years. We can't be happy when there's been no communication. You can't be happy when things have been allowed to drift. So therefore, the communication's the biggest thing. Get the fan base on side. So we'll see. We will see. That's what it's about, isn't it? That's literally what it's about, first and foremost. And Andy says, I've got the final week of transfer window anxiety. Yeah. Dan says, thought I'd have calmed down by now, but I'm once again asking Everton for Dyche out and Rooney in. Anthony Annett says, why isn't Beto being announced? I'm sure it'll be later on today. They'll be doing all his media, the interviews, probably trained as well today. Paul Power, what a name, says, afternoon lads, just got back from Norwegian cruise, I think it is. Nice. So missed a week's content. I did manage to watch the Villa and Wolves games though, very disappointing, and I'm already feeling deflated. Yeah. Okay, well, still 35 games to go. We win tomorrow, people start smiling a little bit. Jack says, for me, stats are looked at far too much. The only stat that matters is goals scored. Iwobi averages 2 a season at best. Take the money. Okay. Derek says, totally agree. Sell Iwobi soon as. The fact he's never played or really played in his preferred position. He's surplus to requirements. Fingers crossed that Delhi steps up and becomes even 70% of the player he was. Benjamin says, at the end of the day, if the lad isn't signing a new contract, then we have to get a fee for him, regardless of the stats. I'm personally happy he's going because there's plenty of other players who are the same or better for less wages. Kev Rex says, do you not think Dyche would play 4-4-2 if Ings was to come in? No. Sean says, hi lads, can you see McNeil playing centrally if if Iwobi does go. I've said this before, he could play there, yeah. If he's got Harrison on one wing and Danjuma on the other, or he brings another one in, then McNeil could easily play as one of the 8s. David says, you've made it when you can change your username to just the initials, EB, and everyone knows who it is. Derek says Iwobi goal ratio for an attacking player is abysmal. I'd sell contract or not.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a thing people will always look at, won't they? Jay says, anyone notice on Sunday that the pundits were all in for Gordon and what a wonderful talent he has? When he was at Everton, he was branded as a cheat. Colin, I seen Colin after the game, said, I promised you a super chat after the game. How did you send the super chat? Don't worry about it, mate. It's on YouTube, you'd have to do it. Don't worry about it. David is holding out ignorantly for Sergio Ramos. Daniel O'Connor says, random one for Baz. Have you ever heard of a German left back called Luca Netz? Only 20. He's made over 40 appearances for Mönchengladbach. No, he's not one I'm massively familiar with. He's not an attacking player or a midfielder. I'm sure the Piv knows him. The Piv will know his bloody inside leg and everything of him, but he's not one I'm massively familiar with, Daniel, to be honest with you. I will have a look at him now you've mentioned him, but he's not one I'm massively familiar with. Right, we're going to go because on More Than a Game at 2 on the transfer show where we're talking about everything else that is going on in the world of football transfer wise. Like we say, if anything breaks Everton wise, we will discuss it. Darryl says, great show, lads. I'm watching from Gainesville, Florida, hoping that this team improves in the last 3 games. I've been to Gainesville, Darryl. Very nice place in Florida. Hopefully we it will improve. I'm sure it will. Stephen Swiss says, is Beto half as good as Bebeto?
If he's half as good, then he'll be a hell of a signing.
He will. Bebeto,
hell of a signing.
Quality.
The vote was, would you sell Iwobi?
Yeah.
80% says yes, 20% no. 973 votes, which is pretty good.
That's quite good.
Shame we never quite got to the 1,000, but
that's not bad though.
It's better than the likes. When you were voting, couldn't you have liked as well?
And that's lazy, isn't it? Feels lazy. Feels lazy to me. As if you wouldn't have, out of all that, 500 likes at least. That'd be a third of the people. But listen, that's lazy. Ruben is watching from Naples in Italy.
Oh, nice.
Is right, Ruben? Top man. Listen, is the transportation going to be?
Oh, it's done.
The transportation link is here.
It's fully done.
Like Star Trek, if you will.
Fully.
All you have to do, it'll take you over. Click that link, it'll take you over, and we will be doing a transfer show at 2 o'clock. Literally, you can get a drink and then join us for the transfer show and be active.
Let me just say this. I don't think it will be, but I was just thinking, I wonder if Beto's announcement will be left to tomorrow. So he can wear the new